So, we all expect AAA games companies to spend 10 years making a game, only for it to be released as a buggy mess that 20 years ago they wouldn't have dreamt of selling in that state. Starfield is one of those games. I can't think of a game that more accurately describes modern game company culture than Starfield. It's a game with so much potential, only to have that squandered on a game that is way less than what players expected at launch. So I wasn't surprised when I saw an article talking about how Starfield has lost 97% of their players. That's right, it's down roughly 97% in players since its all-time peak. When I checked in on the numbers myself using SteamDB, I found that it had roughly a daily peak of 12,490 players, which is surprising because the Skyrim Special Edition had almost 3 times as many players in the last day. To put that in perspective, the Special Edition of Skyrim was released in 2016, 8 years ago, and is only one version of the game. The original version had another 3K daily players on top of that. So why is it that it seems like every major AAA release does so bad? I've been thinking about this a lot recently because I made a few videos on Palworld last week. When you compare Palworld's numbers to Starfield's numbers, they're not even in the same league. How is it that a small indie development team can make a game that outdoes a game like Starfield, which was in development at a major studio for like 8 years? Palworld has a lot of bugs, probably more than Starfield did when it was released, and I do think the buggy release of Starfield at least contributed to its lack of player interest. So why is it that Palworld can get away with bugs when Starfield can't? Well, for one, Palworld launched in an alpha state, so the entire game comes with a warning saying that it might be a bit buggy, while Starfield was touted as a major launch, and with Starfield coming from Bethesda, I think players had higher expectations. But what I really think is the real cause of it is the price. Even with its struggling player count, Starfield's lowest sale price has been $48.99, according to SteamDB, and its normal price is a whopping $70. Meanwhile, Palworld's priced at $30. That's right, even at its lowest price ever, Starfield cost more than Palworld, which I think is indicative of a lot of the AAA gaming market. They're always trying to separate the consumer from as much of his money as possible, whether that's through in-game microtransactions or just by pricing the game too high. They're constantly trying to up the earnings. I mean, I remember when a Game Boy game was like $40. Then one day the price of games suddenly jumped to $60. Now they're aiming for $70, and I've even heard rumors of upcoming games the studios want to price at $100 or more. I think one of the probably unintentional things that really helped Palworld succeed so quickly was the low price. I mean, gamers tend to be impulse buyers. Oh, my friend is playing that game, I should try it out and play with him. Or, oh, I saw gameplay of that on YouTube and it looked so cool, I'm thinking about buying it, are pretty common ways that a gamer decides to buy a game. It's a lot easier to follow through with that impulse if the game is $30, the price of going out to eat for a meal, rather than $70. Really, anything over $50 is where the average American tends to stop and think, is it really going to be worth it for that price? And when the game is a buggy mess like Starfield, oftentimes that answer is going to be no. Then, even when people do buy it, they will be upset because they spent $70 on a buggy mess, so you'll get bad reviews, which makes it even harder for your game to gain players. I think that's mainly what happened to Starfield, combined probably with the hype they generated and somewhat failed to deliver on. What's particularly egregious about it, too, is that Bethesda games tend to have a history of releasing buggy. I mean, Skyrim was a total mess when it launched, but there was a difference between Starfield and Skyrim, and that difference was that Skyrim was so good that people loved it despite the bugs, but Starfield just didn't hit that mark. The best evidence of this is probably Baldur's Gate 3, which released just a month before Starfield, and yet still has a massive player base. Now, Baldur's Gate is a little less expensive, sitting at around $60, but not too much less that it becomes irrelevant. What's mostly important is the state that it launched in. It was pretty much free of major bugs. At the time, there were even game devs that complained that Baldur's Gate launching in such a polished state was unfair and would lead people to have unreasonable expectations of other game devs. But the truth is that gamers are so starved of good games that don't nickel and dime them, that aren't stuffed to the brim with microtransactions, that aren't priced to bankrupt them, and more importantly, are fun, that Baldur's Gate still has over 100,000 people playing it on a random day of the week. Basically, I don't want to lead you to think this is just a Bethesda problem. It's not only happening with Starfield. We've seen a number of big titles fail in the past year. The most recent big flop was the new Suicide Squad game. It's an industry problem. The AAA studios seem to think that they can shove unfinished garbage at us and expect us to buy that slop at $70 a pop. They don't seem to think that gamers just won't play their games. I think that a 97% decline in players should probably be enough to open up some eyes at Bethesda though. So hopefully someday soon, the AAA devs will learn their lesson, but I doubt it. What do you think? think? Can you believe that Starfield has already seen a 97% player count drop? Are you one of them? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching all the way till the end. If you've made it this far, be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps me and the video do better. Have a great day, and God bless you.